it's Teresa, and today I'm going to share some of my previous projects with you that are all under $5. And there's 10 of them, so 10 projects all under $5 or right around $5. And let's jump in. So we've got one of these boards. I got it at a thrift store and it was 2 pieces and it was 2 for $5.99, so I'm counting this as only $3. And I combined these 2 wood tints. One is walnut, one is gray, and you didn't really need to do that. And then I'm going to take my Chalk Couture surface wax and I am going to just apply it all over. I used a paper towel for this. Word to the wise, you'll find out in a few minutes, this isn't the best application method. I have learned my lesson. But then I'm going to tape all around the edges and I'm going to pull out my transfer so that I can get it all lined up. This is the mini buffalo plaid check. It's an 18 by 18, so this sucker is big. I went ahead and did all of my fuzzing. I'm going to try my best to use like all the right words. So I'm going to get it all positioned, you know, where I want it to be. It's one of those things, since it's a circle, I mean, can it really be wrong? Can it? I'm going to go with it can't. So, but I'm still trying my best to get it lined up as much as what makes sense. And then we're going to just take our chalk paste in Storm and we're just going to smudge it all over the place. Now, this awesome 18 by 18 transfer is available, and if you're interested in it, let me know. I would love to help you pick out some different things and really come with like a good, you know, a good selection of stuff. Now, I'm going to let you know, obviously this transfer does not cost under $5, but as a designer, it cost me $18, and you can get probably 10 uses at a minimum off of it. So I'm going to count it as costing me less than $2. Maybe that's cheating, but I am not a rule follower. I really am though. All right, so we're going to take the transfer off and I'm going to show you, I messed up a little bit on the wax. I did not buff it in as much as I should have, and I definitely needed to let it sit as well. I have since used the wax and done it successfully. So I filled in a couple of spots that ended up having a lot of the paste come off, and then I'm gonna sand it just to try to like get it to look right all together. And I did my orbital sander over the whole thing to kind of get that really worn look. I still like the way it came out. I'm really happy. I just kind of let the crafts tell me what they want it to be today. And on the next one, I have a Dollar Tree pumpkin. And don't get mad at me. This was supposed to just be everyday farmhouse decor, but I had to throw in a little bit of fall because there's so many beautiful fall DIYs out there right now, and I just needed at least a couple little touches of it in this video. So I do try my darndest to get this thing to stick in the middle, but it was not working. The gap wasn't the right size for those little, you know, beads. So what I'll do is I'll just put down a line of hot glue, and then I'll put my beads down. I wasn't worried about them being even across the top, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't mind them being a little bit off here and there. I kind of made sure they weren't too close. Like this one, I'm going a little bit lower. Some of the other ones will go a little bit higher. I didn't want it to look like they were off on purpose. I wanted them to be off on, I wanted them to look off on purpose, not to be off by accident. I think you know what I mean. If you want to make them as even as possible, I would recommend starting your little string of beads at the bottom. If you do it from the bottom and go up to the top, you can kind of make sure you're getting the same number of them all the way around, and I think it'd be more even that way. Once we're done with that and everything's dried down, I'm gonna just, you know, do a couple little touch-ups here and there if it needs it. And once that is finished and those are good to go, we're going to take out our Waverly Plaster chalk paint and we're going to do two coats total. And especially on that first coat, what you want to do is really get in there, in between all of the grooves, get your paintbrush really in there. I found that a flat paintbrush seemed to work the best. Once you've gotten your 2 coats on it, we're going to move on to the good old antiquing wax. When in doubt, and it's Farmhouse, Just throw in some antique wax. There should be a slogan in there somewhere. I'm sure there's something in there for a slogan. And I'm just going to dry brush and pay really a lot more attention to where the beading is. And I'll still get in there and get on the sides too. I didn't want there to be like a real stark difference, but I really wanted to bring out that beadwork. And we're just, like I said, I'm just going in with it today. Everything's farmhouse. It's all going to be a little bit rustic. And how could you not do a pumpkin in August if it's rustic? Here it is. It turned out really, really cute. I'm loving it. All right, we are starting off with, big surprise, a pumpkin. I'm just going to do a full coating of the wood tint in gray, and now I've got some of these transfers from Chalkator, and these are actually all from one transfer. I did not have to fuzz them because I have used them before. They are reusable if you didn't know that, and I tested it on my little pumpkin just to see if they felt like they were sticking enough, too much, that kind of thing. So I'm just kind of gonna go with it. I'm gonna just lay them down onto my pumpkin that's already ready to go. It's already waxed. I use a surface wax from Chalkator, and I'm going to take the chalk paste in the color Camel and in the color Storm, and I'm going to mix it up. This is looking like it's going to be kind of like on a green color, and it's not. It does not come across green at all. It is just a little bit darker of that tan color that is from the Camel one. That way it would kind of stand out just a little bit. I don't want it to stand out too much because I want it to be a lot more subtle. And we are going to do the same thing on the other transfer, and I should have mixed just a little bit more because I was really scraping to get it off. And now what you're going to see in a minute is the one on the left ends up being a lot more faint. To avoid that, if you water down your paste just a little bit, because mine had dried a little while I was mixing it, plus it was from a packet that was already opened, you just add a little bit of water and that will remedy it just fine. Like, I'm actually going to add a little more water to it because I can feel it getting dry, and I should have done that from the beginning. So I'm okay with the way it turns out, which you'll see here in a minute. Super fast to do these. This, like I said, is all on one transfer. It is a C-size transfer, for it's rather large, but you just kind of cut it up. So you'll see on the one on the left, it is, like I said, a little faint, but that's all right. So I went ahead, let it dry completely. It's super fast to have that dry, and I waxed on top of it, and now I am taking, it's actually the same two colors, but I used a lot more of the Storm chalk paste. And I'm going over the wording on this one, which is also, again, like I said, all one transfer, which it says, "Heaven is under our feet as well as over our heads." And I thought it went really well with kind of this like cottage core fall kind of theme. I added a little bit of twine on the top, and I love the way it turned out. All right, on this next project, I am taking some of this decoupage paper, and I am going to leave the little shop that I get it from below. It's from My Victorian Heart. That's the shop, not the brand, obviously. She's based out of St. Augustine, Florida. If you live in Florida, you're going to get it super, super fast. And she always, she actually usually will be able to ship out like the next business day. So even if you don't live in Florida, you're going to get it pretty quick. She's got lots of different kinds of products, and she just filled up a bunch of different ones, and I'm kind of thinking I might have to make another order. So obviously this pumpkin one was kind of perfect, and I am going to just use this silver tray from the Dollar Tree, and I painted that in actually a combination of colors. It's both Whispering Wheat and Sheepskin, both from Folk Art. I did 2 coats around the rim of it, and on the middle part I didn't really care because that's where our paper's going. Now what you just saw me mix is actually a combination of the Waverly chalk paint in moss and the clear wax. I did a coat of the clear wax by itself first, and then I'm just going to brush on my, I'm going to call it tinted wax because it's tinted with paint. So you can do this with anything you want. So if you don't have the right wax color, you just get yourself some clear wax or white wax and mix it yourself. Obviously the white wax would tone it down a little bit. You know, it's going to obviously take away more of the color than the clear wax. This one's obviously pretty toned down too. The moss colored paint is a lot stronger green, if that makes sense. Next, you probably are not surprised if you've been here for a while. I'm going to take some of the Folk Art Antique Wax in antique wax. Never mind. It's just antique wax. Now, obviously, Waverly makes one too, but I found this one first way back during like the pandemic. Nobody had paint products. It was like a shortage across the world. I don't really know, but I'm guessing it because I know I couldn't find it in my Walmart. And I really wanted to bring out a lot of the detailing. You can definitely up close, you can see the green from the, the green wax. You can see the black, the gray. I cannot talk today. You can see the brown and all that. Now I've got my decoupage paper. I've already cut it out because it had a couple of different designs on there, but I'm laying it where I want, and I'm actually taking my fingernail and pressing into it to kind of make like a line. That way I know where to cut without having to mark it up. Another way you can do as well is you can actually, put down your Mod Podge and then take your craft knife and actually go around the perimeter, which I do end up doing just to clean it up because I had a couple of spots that weren't exactly right, where I wanted them. So I think the combination of those two seems to get at least to me, got a pretty good result. You want a pretty thin coat. Now this paper is a little bit thicker than like tissue paper would be. I still got a little bit of lines and I'm okay with it. It doesn't bother me. Maybe someday I will figure out a method to apply Mod Podge without there being any wrinkles, but that's all right. This is all looking very worn and everything, so I'm just fine with that. Now, of course, I'm going in with some more antique wax. I just wanted to take it around like the perimeter a little heavier, of that actual paper part that's in the tray, and then I'll go over the whole thing too, just to give it a little age, really to bring out those details of those wrinkles, because I was like, you know what, if they're gonna be there, it may as well look like they're supposed to be there. They were though, totally. I totally meant to make it wrinkly, but it's not too bad. It's not that much in the wrinkles. And once we're done with that, I do need to add some feet. I decided I didn't want it hanging as like a something to hang back. I wanted to be able to put things on top of it. So I'm taking this Fix All from Dollar Tree. Obviously this is a metal tray. Metal and hot glue, they're not friends, so they don't really stick around together. They're not BFFs, as you would say. So I've got these little blocks. They're actually from a little toy at the Dollar Tree. It's like a brain teaser game, and they're just perfect. And what's nice, you do have a little bit of time to wiggle them around, get them where you want them. And here is how it turned out. I just think it is the cutest thing. All right, I've got another pumpkin. I know, it's such a shocker. And this one is also from Dollar Tree. And now I've got some of this terracotta paint. It is actually from Folk Art, and I am just going to give it a full coating of this. It's kind of like a white color. I'll leave the exact names for all of the paints down for you in the description box, as well as everything else that I've used today. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give this a full coat of the paint. I'm going to let it dry, and then I'm going to come back with another coat, but on this one I'm actually going to stipple it on. When you stipple on with this paint, you're going to get even more texture. You get a very surprise terracotta look to the paint, but then when you stipple it, it's going to give it even more texture, even more of that look. I've got this little dish stand thing, I'm not really sure what to call it, from Michael's when they had 70% off, and I started painting it, and I decided I wanted to just paint the top part this color. This is Cavern Moss. It was kind of perfect for this little theme I've got. And now I've got another one that I'm going to put on there, and that one is called Dusty Trail. I didn't really love it, I'll be honest. I didn't love the way it looked next to, this Cavern Moss one. So I'm going to take the black, which is called Obsidian, and I'm just going to stipple that on. So the Cavern Moss is only one coat, and I figured when I did that, I was like, well, I don't love it, so let me do something else. I'm going to just kind of put this on there, and it's going to give it, again, that really worn look. To me, I was like, this is just some little piece, sitting outside of the cottage in the woods. Do you guys do this? Do you make up stories in your mind for your stuff that you're making? I find that I've been doing it a lot lately. I'm like, I have a story to tell with these pieces. I hope you enjoy the story. I don't know. And then, of course, going back in with some of the antique wax, I'm going just over it very lightly. I wanted to bring out a lot more of the detail in the little cup part on the top. Obviously you can see them, they are pretty defined, but I figured, you know what, I'm gonna just make it even more so, give it a little bit more of a worn look to it. With this terracotta paint, it adds so much texture, so that antique wax is really going to kind of grab onto that and really amplify it. And I kind of love it, if you couldn't tell, since I've used it on a few different things so far. And now I'm going to do the same thing with my little pumpkin. It needed a little bit more definition to it. I'll focus a lot on the stem, and I know I've actually had a couple subscribers tell me the technical name for it, and I cannot remember it. And I think if I remember right, it was a word I didn't know how to pronounce. So I'm going to call it the stem. And another one of my subscribers, Bridget, she's the sweetest thing ever. She calls these love handles on the pumpkin, and I kind of love that. I was like, well, that's what they are from now on. They have a more technical name too, but love handles, how do you not love that? I love handles on my pumpkins. And once I have gotten all of the antique wax, here it is. I added just some moss. I put a tumbling tower block underneath it to kind of boost it up a little. All right, so I have this little trinket box from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to paint the bottom in the Waverly chalk paint and moss, and I'm going to combine those two colors just like I did on the previous project, like 2 projects ago. I have this stencil from the Dollar Tree, and I cut it off of the other part, and I was like, oh, I guess I didn't really technically have to do that. It's a, you know, adhesive sticker. Obviously it's getting stuck to itself right now, so be careful of that. And I'm just going to put that down on the bottom. It's almost kind of like it's not even like ivy so much. I don't know. I don't really know what to call this, but it just kind of spoke to me. It said, put me on your pumpkins. That was it speaking, if you couldn't figure that out. Now I've got some of the caulking from Dollar Tree. It's obviously not in the crafting section, but apparently it should be. It's in like the hardware-ish kind of area, and I'm just going to use a craft stick just to smooth it on. Now I will let you know this it gets a little bit difficult to work with, so just kind of smooth it best you can. I think I probably should have dipped my craft stick in like a little bit of water, and that probably would have let me smooth over it a little bit more. Some of the spots messed up a little bit, but I'm okay with it. It kind of turned out a little nice. And what I do end up doing eventually, once I get done with this part, I actually take it off and I try to clean off some of the, leftover caulking, but I didn't clean off that particularly well. So this first peel, you see, it turned out pretty good. And then I put it on the other part and it didn't turn out as good, but that's all right. So before it's completely dry, I'm going to just go in and pat it down because it has some spots where it's obviously, thicker than other spots, and it's kind of, sticking up in little spots. So I figured this would help me get it a little bit smoother, a little more consistent. I'll go over that, again, same chalk paint, the moss from Waverly, go over it pretty hefty. And originally I was just going to go over the green part, or not the green, the whole thing is green, you know what I mean, the part that I added on with the stencil. And then I was like, well, I better pull it up just a little bit in case there's a little difference in it with the opacity of the paint, if you kind of know what I'm talking about. Hopefully you do, otherwise you're watching the screen and can figure it out. All right, now of course we need to go in with the antique wax, and this is just going to add a lot more definition. It depends on on your overall look that you're going for. You could have just gone in and carefully painted all of that raised area. I thought that would have probably taken me 3.5 years, so I decided not to do that. But of course we're going to use the antique wax to really bring out the detail, and I can't leave the rest of it alone naturally, so I'm just going to go through and add a little light brushing all around as well. I did paint the inside too, which it does need another coat, but I was like, they get the idea. I'm going to do it to the lid as well, just because it seemed like it needed a little something. It couldn't be completely perfect. I've got this teeny tiny little piece of wood. It's actually off of some antique stuff. I have probably, oh my gosh, I probably have like 100 of these little things or more. But I cut down the bottom side of it, and I'm just going to put it on the lid to be my little stem for my pumpkin. It's obviously an interpretation, but I think you get the idea. So we have this Harvest Garland from Pottery Barn for $149. I've got some of these Dollar Tree picks that are pumpkins. They came in like a 4-pack, and I just coated them all completely with some of this terracotta white paint. And now I'm just going to trim off all of these little leaf picks, also from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to just start kind of pushing them into this wreath form, again from Dollar Tree. And this wreath form and the picks all together, I mean, maybe $5 at most. So $149 it is not. Don't get me wrong, I am sure that the one from Pottery Barn is gorgeous, probably bigger than this, but it did not cost me $149 to put this together. So definitely check out the Dollar Tree for these white leaves. They're just absolutely gorgeous, so neutral, and I took a lot of these little pumpkin picks. Now the one I am finagling right now, it came in a different pack. I did the same thing. I painted it with that same paint color, and that one, if I can find it on my desk, is called the terracotta, and that is Adobe White. You can get them at Hobby Lobby, you can get them at Michael's. Make sure when you buy them that you get them with a 30% off coupon, because they are not cheap. I think it's like $4 a bottle, but again, if you use your 30% off, it's not too bad. And they do have really good coverage, and they give you a really cool texture, which you'll see in a few minutes because I'm going to use a lot of them. They were sent to me, a few of them. I think I have about half of my collection was sent to me, half of it I couldn't wait and I bought it. Now I'm taking some of these sticks. They're from a bundle that I have, some like dried flowers that I've kind of had sitting in my stash for a little while. And obviously, depending on the kinds of trees you have in your neighborhood, your yard, you can just pick them up off the ground and use them for the same thing. It's just in the wreath that I am trying to replicate, they had a lot of these kind of sticks, and I thought that wasn't going to happen. There's not going to be that much. And then these are in that same pack of all the dried sticks, just a couple little extra things just to kind of give it a little, you know, a little something. Here's how it turned out, and there's the comparison. Like I said, it came out pretty good, I have to say. And we're going to do this pumpkin from Kirkland's. On sale right now, it's just over $26. And again, we're going to use some Dollar Tree stuff. I've already filled in little holes, and the slotted pumpkin, again, you can get it at the Dollar Tree. I gave it a full coat of the Waverly chalk paint and ink. And then I am using this galvanized welcome sign, also from the Dollar Tree. I did just a full coat of Mod Podge and then went over that with the white Adirondack paint from Folk Art. I'm going to get my E6000 out and give it a few little dollops throughout on the back side of the galvanized sign, and then do the same with some hot glue. The metal, it does not like hot glue, it does not like paint, so you have to kind of work with it and kind of make it work, you know, with whatever you've got, essentially. And of course I had like a little spillage of the glue, but that's okay. I'm going to take apart this little pumpkin sign, and I kind of broke it in the process, but that's okay. We're gonna make it work today. And you're just going to put some hot glue there in that little crevice, push your, you know, slotted pumpkin in, and I'll add, oh, there's my head, sorry. I'm just going to add a couple of tumbling tower blocks to the back, give it a little added security so it doesn't go anywhere. Just so, you know, like I said, it's going to be set. It's not going nowhere. Here's my project and our other one that I was replicating, and I need to add the bow still, but next we're going to make some pumpkins. There's a lot of pumpkins today. Now these ones from Kirkland's, they were more of a foam pumpkin. I'm going to use some more terracotta paint. They had that kind of look to them, so that's what I was going with. Now on this one, I am going to do, I believe it ends up being like 2 or so coats. This first terracotta, sorry, I had to reach for it. This first one here is Terrazano Tan. I'm going to leave it listed for you below, though, all of today's paint colors, because I probably said it wrong, and that's okay. I'm just kind of showing you it goes on really nicely, and I'm going to do another pumpkin in this more of like a blue tone color, and again, I can't remember the name of it offhand, and it is Sea Stone. I do about 2 coats on both of the different pumpkins just to kind of make sure they're nice and opaque. You can you can give it a lot more texture if you pounce your paint on your surfaces. It just kind of depends on how much texture you want to get from it. I liked more of the smooth look to it, but that was just my preference. So you do you. You do what you like. And once we are done with our 2 coats on both of them, I felt like I kind of needed a little bit more. And we're going to go in with a little bit deeper of a shade on the same kind of terracotta paint. I'm just going to go over the stem on both of those pumpkins. And I'll be honest, I got a little, a little messy. I wasn't being particularly careful. And on this one, I did more of like a pouncing to leave some of that darker brown because it just needed, a little bit more texture to it. There's a lot of texture, but that's okay. They make this one. This one is called Obsidian, and I'm just going to pounce it on again. Like I said, I just wanted to build it up a little bit more. My my 2 that I'm trying to dupe are actually a lot more of a monotone color, if that makes any sense to you, and I didn't really want to go that route, so I'm changing it up a little bit. I kind of kept layering on the stem just to make it more of what I wanted, and then I was like, I got some on my pumpkin, I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna go with it. So I took it in and did a little bit of dry brushing around the pumpkin, and then I really focused in a little bit more in the creases, and I went ahead and did that to the blue pumpkin as well. Just because, like I said, I wanted just to build it up and get a little bit different of a look. And you'll see here the finished and the comparison. And I think I like mine better. And they're not foam. So, all right, we've got this one for $11.99 from Hobby Lobby. I'm starting off with another one of their more like wood tone looking pumpkins. I've done something similar to this already this year, but this one's a little different. And I loved the way it turned out, so I wanted to show you. I'm taking the Dollar Tree little beads, little sticker beads, and I'm putting them down kind of like the middle point, the high point on each little pumpkin area. I don't even know what to call that. Does that have a name? You guys will have to let me know. I'm going to take Folk Art, Sheepskin, and Waverly in Hazelnut. I'm kind of mixing them up together because I don't know. It was like the one was too dark. I didn't have, one that was a lighter color, and it ends up being this atrocious color when you're looking at it like this. But don't worry, we're working with it. I'm going to take some antique wax and some white wax. I mixed those 2 together, and I'm going to give it a layer of this now. I'm doing a pretty messy layering of it. I'm not doing a dry brush by any means, but I'm doing it kind of messy. That way, if some of that tannish colored paint sneaks through, it's all right. If it's more opaque, it's also all right. And like I said, we're just kind of layering things on today, and I'm kind of digging the overall effect that I've gotten today. And we're adding yet another layer. Now we've got the Waverly chalk paint and plaster, and at first I was like, I'm just going to dry brush it on. And then I looked at my, my dupe, my picture that I'm trying to dupe, and I was like, nope, it's not like that. It's not like that at all, Theresa. So then I was like, well, why not? We're just going to paint the whole thing with the plaster. Like I said, guys, today is just all about layering. And now I've got some, again, same thing. I've got a little deeper this time, I should say, the antique wax with the white wax. And now I'm going over mostly in like the little bubble beaded areas to give them, a lot more definition. Man, these things like pop out at you. You can see them. There's no mistaking it. They're there. And this one is funny. It's like I almost felt like this one didn't go as well with everything else. This one was way more in like the rustic direction. And the other ones before this, I felt like kind of went in like a cottagecore kind of feeling to it. So it was like I said, I was trying to do like cottagecore stuff. And I did this one and I was like, well, I'm just going to throw it in there because I like it. It's a little bit more eclectic today, but that's all right. It's all fall, it's all dupes, so they're all under $5, which is amazing. And I didn't use my Cricut, guys. Here it is, though, as compared to the original one. I love it. I love it, love it, love it. All right, so on this one, $44 from Magnolia. That is the one, the Fix It Up show that they have on like HGTV. And this one is definitely a lot more on the inspired direction because it's got a texture on the bottle. It's not the same size. It's a similar shape. So it's what I had, and it got it to the point where I could actually use something out of my like extensive collection of glass and ceramic stuff. So I went with it. I did 2 coats, probably about maybe like a little bit extra just to fill in any spots I missed, just because I felt like it needed it. And I love the red color though. I really didn't know if I was gonna love it, but I do. Here it is. I just added some dried flowers. Hey everyone, you made it through my 10 projects, all under $5. I want to let you know I appreciate you so much. Be sure to leave a pumpkin emoji or some leaves emoji, something that tells me you cannot wait for fall to get here. I live in Florida and it's like 1,000,000 degrees outside and I can't wait for fall to be here. Although unfortunately fall for us doesn't really happen until like the end of November. So I still can't wait for it to get here, and I'm going to share some more fall videos with you coming up in just a few days. I cannot wait for you to see them. You're going to love them. I love them. And I can't wait. And don't forget, if you're new here, to hit that subscribe button and click the bell to get notified every time I upload. And I will see you next time.